All right, once our view for navigation is fine, we can move on to the next region, which is a banner view. And what we want to do is make the lives of the authors a little easier by allowing them to select media that's already been rendered or automated so that the image size matches the restrictions of the style sheet or of the responsive design parameters we've developed for the site. So what we would like to do is set up some simple media automations and then create a product that will be viewed as a banner. So we'll do two things. We'll create a product. We'll add that product to the page using a smart list, and then we'll add the media through an automation. So let's go ahead and go to the workspace and create a folder to store that automation or to store that content. So I'll go to our RL folder and I'll create a new folder to store media. And then I'll add a couple of automations. So I want to do an automation for banner, I want to do one for feature images. So I'm going to first set up a banner automation. And I do have an example that I can send you later, but here it is. So in this automation, I'm defining two automations. First is a simple one called banners that just creates a banner that matches the requirements of our site. Now there's two ways to do this. We could do this with automations and that's fine. We could also do it with responsive design and we could do that in code. But we usually want to do both to prevent skewing. So I'm going to give an image that more or less meets the requirements of the style guidelines, and then maybe use some responsive design appropriately to support other devices and other formats. But we do want to start off with something more or less correct. So I've got an image automation. I also have a feature images automation that's going to produce the images for the most of the content on my site. So two automations, which makes it a little easier so we don't end up with skewing images that are intended to be used as banners. So I'll go ahead and copy all those automations and we'll paste them into the configuration console. So I'll go into the config console and we'll add those to our resources. So I go to my automations, generic resource, and I replace the one that's there with this new automation and click Save. And then I'll go ahead and push or commit the changes. In this case, I'll go ahead and commit. And once it's committed, then I can go ahead and start using it. I'll go to the workspace and I'll run that automation. I'll do images automation for banners. So I'll first select banners. And then I'll go try to find some banners on my file system that I can use. So for example, under installs media, I've put some images that could be used as banners. So I'll select those and then drag and drop them onto the board here. And make sure they look okay. I can supply some captioning and alt text for those images as needed. But otherwise, I'm just going to click upload. And they upload pretty quickly. And once they're there, I can set filtering so that I only see the image type. And I don't get distracted by the other formats that are there. And I can always get to the format by going to these images and going to the Formats tab to view the available formats. So here I have a format called Landscape, and I just have to remember that's the name of the format I want to use. And that'll work for us. Then we need to create a component that supports that. So we can create a content instance, and we can do that through a quick action, for example, or directly in the site. So I'm going to go back to preview, and we'll go ahead and do that right on the preview site. So my smart list is already listening, so I'm going to modify that smart list to only listen to my channel. So I'm going to go into the page mode, and you'll notice in page mode I don't have access to the properties of the list, so I'm going to have to leave that and go into the template. Once I'm in the template, I can then make changes to that list by editing the component properties. So in this case, I can edit that region in page mode, or edit that component. Now that I'm in the page mode in the template, I have the ability to edit the properties of that list. So I'm going to go and make a few small changes. I'm going to only show certain kinds of content, such as products. I'm going to add the typical conditions we see at the template layer. I'm going to add a channel condition to current channel, and I'm going to add a language condition to current language. And that's only useful at the template layer. If we do this at the page layer, it doesn't really make much sense for us. So we only do these kind of contextual expressions at the template layer. If we were doing this at the page layer, we would add specific conditions for that page. I'll set the sort order appropriately. So sort order, like last modified date, descending, so I see the most recent content if there's more than one. And then I'll just save and close that list. Now there's no items in that query yet. I can leave the page or the template layer. I can go back into page mode. And now I can add items to that list. So I can add our landing page banner, for example. You know, this is the title. So I'll know it's the title, right? This is the teaser. And this is the body. I can also add media to that. For the images, the banners, we probably want to use alt media. So I'll pick one of these. We also maybe want to add some additional images for feature images, but I haven't run any automations for that yet, so I'll leave that there for the moment. There's some additional metadata for the content I can add, related items of course, but otherwise this is enough to test and get our site working. I'm going to store this in the products folder and just make sure I can see the title there. And that takes care of that. Now we have a smart list that's listening to the home channel, and we have a content instance, the landing page for the home channel, that's available there as well. That's responding to the appropriate language. So if I switch to French, I should see no queries available. So I'll have to localize that content later. So I'll go back to English. And that's the first step. The next step after this is to write a display view that renders that banner in a nice way along with the image.